Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. Thank you for joining us today for Calling All Women Warriors. I'm Deb Burton, the founder and creator of RI Elder Info. We are a nonprofit located here in Rhode Island, and it is our mission to get information out across the state and across the country for resources to help people remain independent as they age, as well as to connect our veterans and those who served with the resources that are available to them. We are a 501c3, and we are always excited to bring information out, but that wouldn't be possible without the support of our sponsors. So I have to say thank you to Raytheon and Cross Country Mortgage. They have been wonderfully generous in helping us get this production going. I also need to thank England Studio. They are the ones who are creating the actual structure of the RI Elder Info website, and a lot of our graphics are from them. Of course, operating behind the scenes, who you don't see, is Ben Barber from D&B Media. He's the one who helps make sure that the show goes smoothly. We also have great support from Oak Street Health. Fun little fact, Oak Street Health is able to provide the vaccines in their Providence location for all residents in the city of Providence, age 50 and over. We also receive support from Loisel Insurance Company, and we are very grateful for all of our sponsors, all of our supporters, all of our donors. You know, it's funny, you don't think about as a nonprofit that, you know, if everybody who's watching today gave $1, you'd cover the costs for us to produce these shows for the year. A little fun fact like that. So today it's super important that you hit the like button and that you share this today, because we're going to be discussing resources for our women veterans. And, you know, we know that this is March, this is Women's History Month, but today is also National Supreme Sacrifice Day, which honors those who have made the tremendous sacrifices for the sake and the good of others. And I can't think of anyone more important in that would be our veterans and those who serve. I would like to start us off with an individual who, if she's able to come on, she has served our country, Mrs. Yvette Veri. She's 100 years old. She was having some technical difficulties a few minutes ago, so I'm not sure if that's resolved. But Mrs. Yvette Veri, she's 100 years old. She is a World War II Navy veteran, which I find is absolutely fascinating, because a lot of times, you know, when we think of World War II, we think of the men who have served, but there is actually a large contingent of women who served. Mrs. Veri was one of them. She was born in Central Falls, so she's Rhode Island born and bred. She had 3 siblings growing up. She heard of the war taking place and the bombing, and so she and 2 of her siblings, her younger sister and brother, all went and enlisted in the Navy. So she enlisted in April of 1944. She received an honorable discharge in 1946, and she served in Quonset and attained the rank of Seaman First Class, performing the duties of a yeoman. And what's really cool about her too, in 1947, she took flying lessons just because. So I would like to welcome Mrs. Yvette Veri to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Veri?
Okay, hold on just a minute.
This is wonderful.
Help my client.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can
Mom.
you, yes, I just need to move Yvette a little bit so she's a little more comfortable.
And see, when we go live, these are some of the things that
Oh,
we
here you
happen.
go. I know. I'm her
Hi,
niece,
Lynn.
Lynn.
Okay.
And Yvette, sit here. Oh, there's the rest of you.
See, these are the things that we work with when we work with an individual who has been here for a century. Sometimes technology is not always as easy to
Okay,
use as
have
we
a
may
seat.
expect. There she is.
Okay.
Hi, Mrs. Vary.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I'm gonna.
There you go.
Perfect. Hi, Mrs. Vary. Will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this morning?
She'd like you to say the Pledge of Allegiance.
The what?
The Pledge of Allegiance. I copied it for you. I printed it for you.
We can
You
all
want
say
me
it.
To read that, the Pledge of Allegiance.
We can all say it together.
She's fine.
Flag of the United States of America
And to the
and to
Republic,
the republic for which it stands, one
under God,
nation, under
indivisible,
God.
with liberty and justice for all.
It's a tearing. But anyhow, that's it.
That's it.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Vary. Thank you. And I think I might be.
Wait,
How are you? I'm frozen.
Oh, there it is.
There we go. How are you? Thank you for.
How are you?
Thank you for joining us today.
see me there.
Yep.
Yes, that's you. Wow, look at those pictures.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Thank
These
you
are-
for joining us.
These are women veterans. It's a meeting of
Oh, I
women's
see.
veterans. So they
What is-
wanted you to read the Pledge of Allegiance.
She wants you to read this one.
No,
She
you're
read-
fine.
Okay. Mhm.
The Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Yeah, you did a great job.
To the
To the flag.
That's okay. You read it.
Yes. Mrs. Vary, would you give us some advice? Would you give us young folks some advice?
to the
She'd like to know if, here, I'll hold this for you.
What's-
She'd like to know.
What's the magic? What is the magic to live to be 100 years old?
She said, how is it to live to be 100? You're going to be 100.
I am 100.
You are.
Yes.
So do you have any advice for these young women here?
Oh, to
You like to go out to eat? Doesn't that it help you live a long time to go shopping and go out to eat?
is that it?
That's it, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's wonderful.
That's yours.
That's mine. That's mine.
She's talking to you.
She wants to know what it's like.
Mhm.
That's a lot of things.
Mhm.
I don't know why I didn't do it myself.
We helped
It's
you.
you?
We
Yes.
helped you.
What do you want to tell her? She's talking to you.
Yeah, what would you like to tell her? See, there you are up there.
Awesome. So, Mrs. Very, I
That's you.
understand. I understand that you have a big birthday coming up. So, if Ben, can you bring everybody backstage on screen so that we can all sing happy birthday? Ready? On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Mrs. Berry.
All worn out.
Happy birthday to you. Oh, thank you very much, Mrs. Very, for joining us today. This meant a lot. I really appreciate it.
Keep talking right here.
Yes, this is wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay. Yeah, a
All
little bit.
right. That's wonderful.
Ah, look at her. Oh my God.
Oh, you're doing good.
Oh,
Oh, see?
look at all those women.
And you just never know how often you will have the opportunity to see someone who is 100 years old, who's also a military veteran. Absolutely amazing. Even despite the technical difficulties, which, you know what, that happens to all of us. As this was all happening, my own system froze. You never know. So my next guest, I am pleased to have come up. My next guest represents District 21 in Warwick. She has been honored with the Legislator of the Year Award from the Disabled American Veterans and the American Legion, Post 43 Auxiliary Female Veteran of the Year Award, and she's also a Navy veteran. So first we're going to have the national anthem, and then after that I will welcome Camille Vella-Wilkinson. Wonderful. Welcome, Representative Vella-Wilkinson. I have that you are, let's see, Chair of the House Conduct Committee, Second Vice Chair of the House Rules Committee, Member of the House Finance Committee, Member of the House Judiciary Committee, and Member of the House Veterans Affairs Committee. Gee, I can't imagine why you might be on that one.
Thank you so much, Deb. I appreciate it. And thank you for including me on this very important event today.
Thank you.
You know, a number of years ago, after I had retired from the Navy in 1997, I was invited to my first event that was honoring women veterans at the State House. And it was in the springtime, so we had the event outdoors. My husband was still active duty. He was in the Army, and he was in uniform. Of course, I did not attend in uniform because I had already retired. And I have to tell you, I was very, very surprised, especially, as I said, because this was an event specifically to honor women veterans, when one of the women that was there came up to me and saw me with my husband and said, "Gee, isn't that nice that you came to show support to your husband?" And I looked at her and I said, "Well, my husband's not a woman veteran." And she says, "Yeah, but he's here in uniform. So he's obviously here to show respect and solidarity with women veterans." And I said to her, "Well, no, I'm the woman veteran. He's here to show solidarity and support to me." And she looked rather puzzled at the idea that there was a woman veteran there who was in civilian clothes. Most of the other women veterans were in the Army and Air National Guard. Some of the women also came up from Newport, and they were in their Navy uniforms. So that was really my first introduction to Rhode Island's view of women veterans. So a number of months ago, I became very interested in the I Am Not Invisible campaign that was initiated by the VA Healthcare Association. And I started looking into it and found that there was some of the states who had a Women Veterans Day, and it was set for June 12th. And it's actually a federally recognized holiday in observation. So it's a holiday on the calendar that you don't get holiday pay for. Kind of like Groundhog Day, although that's probably a very unfortunate comparison. And I have recently submitted legislation with regards to Female Veterans Day to be celebrated on the Rhode Island state calendar on June 12th. Now, the reason that June 12th is a significant day for women veterans is because when President Truman was in office, he signed a bill, a federal bill, which was the Women Veterans Integration Act. And that enabled all women serving in the military post-Second World War to be equal to their male counterparts and serve as officers and enlisted people in all the branches of the service. Unfortunately, another portion of that bill was the Combat Exclusion Law. And the Combat Exclusion Law actually has prevented and continues to prevent some of our peacetime Cold War veterans that are women from having access to some of the state benefits for veterans, in particular, property tax exemptions. So in my household, because I have 20 years of service and I'm the war on terrorism, okay, Desert Storm, the first Desert Storm, I served during that. I have access to the state benefits for veterans, which of course is the property tax, which you could either take the exemption from your home or you could take it from your vehicle. But a few months ago, I was contacted by Representative Carol McEntee, and apparently one of her constituents from Jamestown, I believe, had contacted her and said that she was excluded from having the benefit of any of the property tax exemptions because she did not serve in a declared conflict or war. So Rhode Island uses that as part of the definition of what a veteran is. And because it's part of the state definition, the towns and cities use that as well when determining whether or not a veteran should have access to the exemption or any other benefits that the municipality offers for their veterans. So this year, there are two bills that have recently been heard at the State House. One of which is to change the definition of a veteran so that it includes peacetime Cold War veterans who did not serve during any type of a declared war or conflict. And then the other legislation is to establish June 12th as Women Veterans Day. Now, Women's Veterans Day does not take away from the standard Veterans Day in November any more than Vietnam era Veterans Day takes away from Veterans Day in November. It's just another way to highlight what women veterans have done in the state. And so it's my pleasure to announce to all of you that are joining this broadcast today that Rhode Island is going to be launching the I Am Not Invisible campaign, so that we will join many of the other states across the nation in recognizing the various contributions our women veterans have made since getting out of uniform and settling here in Rhode Island. So you should see a press release coming out sometime next week, and I encourage you to nominate yourself, or if you're the shy type, you can see if someone in the family or friend, or even if your company or your boss would be willing to nominate you. The focus is not what you did in the military, but what you've done since your time in the military. And then on the 12th, which would be Women Veterans Day, whether it becomes a state holiday or not, it is federally recognized as Women Veterans Day. We would have the gallery event. So what happens is that the women that are selected as a result of this campaign would have their portraits hung in the State House, and there would be an unveiling. And it would also be held virtually in case we're not allowed to gather in large crowds still because of COVID. So again, I encourage you all as women veterans to please support the change in the definition of a veteran, whether or not it impacts you directly. It certainly impacts many of our sisters. And also to support the idea of having a Women Veterans Day recognized in the state of Rhode Island. So I hope that covers everything. And if you have any questions for me, my contact information is on the crawl beneath my picture right now. You can always email me or give me a phone call. The phone number that appears is actually my cell number. And you could text me if you would prefer not to call. Calling is always accepted. And Vella-Wilkinson, which is my last name without the hyphen, @gmail.com is my email address. But I am also on Facebook. So please feel free to reach out to me. And there's also a caucus of for veterans and military families. And we have that caucus on Facebook as well. So if you're looking at networking or learning about additional events, that's another way you can keep in touch with us. So thank you all. Enjoy the rest of the program today. And Deb, I turn it back to you.
Thank you. I do have one quick question. What do we need to do to support that legislation to make June 12th official? Who do we reach out to? What do we need to do?
Deb, thank you for that question. I'm so involved with what's going on at the State House, I forget that some people may not have had the opportunity to reach out to their elected officials. So what you would do is contact your state representative and your state senator. Let them know that you're a veteran and that you vote. And please make sure that you let them know what your address is, because we get so many pieces of correspondence through email. Sometimes we can only respond to those that live in our cities and towns or in our actual districts. So even in the subject line, you can say, please support Women Veterans Day, and then start off by saying, I'm one of your constituents, and I learned from the Calling All Women Warriors event that there is legislation that was introduced on Women Veterans Day, and I really would like your vote. Please, ladies, when you have all of these elected officials or the elected official wannabes that knock on your door, I would hope that you remember to ask them not, do you support veterans? Because it's easy for them to say, oh yeah, I support veterans, as opposed to saying to them, how do you support veterans? And what do you plan to do specifically to support veterans? And not just veterans, but women veterans. What are you planning to do for me? It's not a selfish question. It's a real question. And this way, you know that they actually did put a plan together with thought with regards to veterans and women veterans. Again, we don't want to be invisible, but sometimes you've got to stand tall and raise your hands and yell and not be polite, but demand that your needs are being addressed. If you wait for someone to recognize you, you could end up like I had been that day on the State House lawn for a women's event where someone says, "Oh, your husband is the veteran," as opposed to someone coming up and saying, "Thank you for your service."
Oh, thank you so much, Camille. This meant a lot. Thank you for getting that word out. And, please, if there's anything I can do to help spread the message on that, I absolutely will. I can start up the hashtag I am not invisible.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. And again, thank you, sisters, for being here.
So my next guest is in a new role over at the Rhode Island State Office of Veteran Services. I would like to bring up Jennifer Marquis Caruso, Chief of Veterans Affairs. Good morning, Jennifer.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Please share with everyone, what does the Office of Veteran Services do?
Sure. So I am new to the role. I started last August. We are at the state level, so we're not federally involved like the medical center is. However, we offer a wide array of services. We can help navigate benefits, any legal issues, family memorial services, the veterans home, our website, which you'll see scrolling at the bottom of my picture. There's our website there. And if there's any direct questions that you have, personal questions, there's a link on the bottom that you can send us an email directly, and it'll go to those of us that work in the office. So it's myself and another chief that handles cases. And we also have a platform that hosts all these organizations and agencies in Rhode Island that help veterans. So whenever an issue comes up or a veteran needs assistance, we have resources available to help refer those veterans and their families to them and get them resources that's available. So we want people to use our website and get in there and use our resources that we have. I also am the Women's Program Coordinator. So every month, the third Thursday of every month in the evening, I host a Woman Warriors event. If anyone wants the information for it, they can always contact me via phone or email, and I can add you to the distro list. Really, it's just it's an open forum for any female veterans to discuss issues that they have or have questions about anything. It's really just it's a good place for all of us women to come together and discuss things, all women related. So I'm your advocate for women veterans, and don't hesitate to contact me. Is there any specific program you want me to talk about, Deb?
One of the questions that comes up pretty frequently, particularly in the world that I work in quite a bit with the older adults, how do people go about getting admitted for the Bristol Veterans Home? Do they accept women at the Bristol Veterans Home? How do you go about doing that? And is it different for a woman veteran to get in?
They absolutely accept women veterans. There is eligibility criteria, which can be found on our website. Really, you need to be 14, but all of the eligibility is listed on the website. And yes, women veterans are accepted there if they meet the criteria, of course. There is quite a lengthy wait list. I think right now it's maybe between 15 months or so. But yes, that is also on our website. It can be found under the education and family portion, and they would just scroll down and they would see the Rhode Island Veterans Home.
Okay. And so if someone's not able to wait those 15 months, does the VA contract with other facilities around the state so that if somebody needed care, in that duration, in that waiting time, are there contracts with other facilities?
It would be case by case basis. It's just, there's different criteria for every organization like that. So I can't speak to what they would need, but yes, there are other resources available.
Oh, good. That's awesome. And when a veteran passes away, who should they reach out to if their loved ones would like them buried in the Veterans Cemetery down in Exeter?
So they can contact any of us at the Rhode Island Office of Veteran Services. Jim Bessel is in charge of the Veteran Cemetery, but we can always help them navigate the application process and burial flag and burial needs. So any of us are there to help, but Jim is the one that's over the Veteran Cemetery.
Awesome. And if a veteran of any era, or maybe someone who has just come home from serving, or even our National Guard, if they needed some extra assistance, COVID hit and so many things have been upended. Are you able to connect folks with other resources if they needed, say, housing or food support or anything along those lines? Can your office help with that?
Absolutely. So we did see an increase in the need for assistance because of COVID. And there are so many organizations out there, Operation Stand Down, various food pantries. So we definitely have a huge list of resources and agencies that we'd be able to refer them to for help, whether it's rent assistance, falling behind on payments, bills. And so there are definitely resources out there available to veterans. So if anyone needs any help, contact us.
That's awesome. So I'm seeing in the chat that Sue Hireman, I'm sorry, Sue, if I'm not saying that properly, she'd like to know if there's something that is, if there is an advocate like you in Massachusetts. Are you aware?
There is. Actually, I was just speaking with her the other day. I can actually get her name and information, and I can probably somehow get that sent out.
Yeah, you can drop it right in the chat box afterwards. Yeah.
Sounds good.
And then that, because, one of the things that we have learned in doing live stream is first, people watch at their own leisure. So that's why we always record it. But people go back when they ask questions. If, when you respond to them underneath their questions, they get a ping on their social media that someone has responded to their question. Okay. And if one person's asking a question, I can guarantee you that there's probably 100 more people with the very same question.
Right.
And that's just, I think that's true of most things, and the way social media works and the World Wide Web is,
right.
We really could have someone watching on the other side of the globe right now.
Yes.
That's one of the things that's really cool. What things do you see as progress moving forward? What advancements have you seen for women veterans and women in the military recently?
I think we still have quite a ways to go, but there's been many strides. Tonya will go into details, but I know the VA Medical Center has opened up all these additional programs for women related to women's health. And really just, it's about inclusivity. We have diversity, and the diversity piece is great, but in order to bring it all together, you have to have the inclusivity. So that's, so we're making progress with that, as Representative Camille mentioned, the I am not invisible. And I think that's huge. I think that's really important to get us women out there that, there are women veterans too, and to be recognize them and for all of their the service that they've done and everything like that. So we've come a long way. So
that's awesome. And, just so that I'm clear and fully transparent, I am not a veteran. I have not served. For me, when a man or woman signs on the dotted line to perhaps die for me, to give me ease of life and ease of health, I feel it's my responsibility to give back to those men and women everything that I can to ensure ease of life and ease of health. So I just wanted to make sure with everybody that you knew I'm not a veteran. I do enjoy spending time. I've met everyone that is on here today, and it's amazing the force that women veterans provide. But you're right, there's not necessarily a recognition of a woman as a veteran, as Camille's experience has said, as many others have said. We might not think that you know, when you stop to get your coffee this morning, that the woman standing next to you may be a veteran. Whereas if it was a gentleman and he had a hat on that said OIF, you might have bought him a coffee. You know, it's that recognition. So I'm really glad to have you in that role in Director Yarn's office. Director Yarn and your office has been a wonderful support for us in outreaching to the veteran community and the military community. You guys have been awesome.
Thank you. Well, you know, it's the support of people like you that really help us. So thank you as well for your support
Yes.
for the military.
Yes, and I have someone who's watching who told me a great quote, and I actually have repeated what she said before because I just think it's perfect. She's a very stylish individual, and she said, "We don't get recognized because women veterans don't wear the hat, and we don't have the jacket with, you know, where we've served on the back. We are far too stylish for that." And you know who you are that's watching.
I feel like I've heard that before, so I might know who it is too.
Yes. So Jen, I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing with everyone about what it is that your office does and your new role there. I'm super happy to have you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Deb.
Thank you. So our next guest is also at the Providence VA Medical Center. I would like to welcome Tonya Maselli McConnell. She is the Women's Program Manager over the Providence VA. Welcome, Tonya.
Thank you, Deb. I just want to say happy Women's History Month, and thank you for your service to all our female veterans. The VA hospital has come a long way with what they offer to veterans, and especially our women veterans. So I thank you for doing this year. Each year we usually have a Women's History Month event during the month of March. So I appreciate what you're doing to gather us all here today.
Yeah, so please tell people about number 32 on the VA campus.
So the VA hospital offers women's comprehensive care in different locations. So a female veteran has a choice. She may obtain that care within the women's clinic. It's its own building on the property, or she may receive her comprehensive care within the main hospital, or at the 3 outbuildings, which we call CBOCs, which are in Hyannis, Middletown, and New Bedford. Regardless of where she receives her care, it is with a designated women's health provider. So those providers are skilled in comprehensive women's health care. We also have 2 gynecologists on staff, one of which also provides surgeries if needed. We've made a lot of strides to provide the best care we can for our female veterans. And it's important, you know, through the years, sometimes women feel that maybe they're not eligible for care at the VA. It's really important that they contact us. If they're eligible, they can come, you know, to an appointment once a year for their primary care. I know sometimes there's questions, you know, I have a provider on the outside. You may also be able to have a provider on the outside and still be seen at the VA. There's so many resources available, and you'll hear more today from other speakers.
Yes, that's awesome. And did you have a PowerPoint that you wanted to share?
I did. It's up to you if you want to put it on.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. Ben, can you bring that up? Let's see. Maybe. See, these are the fun things that happens when you run live.
No worries.
There we go.
I think there's a short video about women's healthcare that's attached. Thank you. Next slide, please, Ben. So you can see from the video as well as the numbers have just continued to grow, and the number is even above that because that was 2019 data. Next slide, please. So in Rhode Island, there's over 5,000 female veterans. 2,700 are currently enrolled in the VA healthcare system. And I spoke a little bit about already what we offer with the comprehensive healthcare. It's also really important to get the word out. We're providing COVID-19 vaccinations here. You can go on our website for the Providence VA and get updates about the age groups, and those that are enrolled will also receive telephone calls about the vaccinations. Those who are not enrolled and wish to get them, very easy. They can contact us and we will get that vaccination to them. Next slide, please. So 1 in 5 enlisted troops are women. As we discussed, it's been, in the past, a real male-oriented culture. A lot of changes have been made. I thank the state of Rhode Island for the I Am Not Invisible campaign that they're taking on this year. We did do this at the VA hospital a few years ago. We have a lot of pictures in the hospital from our female veterans that were involved in this. So we continue to promote an inclusive culture. Every veteran that walks through the doors should feel comfortable within this environment. Thank you. So these are just some of the healthcare options for women, as I spoke about: gynecologists on staff, surgical services, maternity care. I think it's important to note that if a female veteran is eligible for her care at the VA and she's pregnant, her maternity care is covered 100% in the community. We do not provide maternity care at the VA, but a consult is placed and her care in the community is covered, as well as the first 7 days of the baby's life. Next slide, please. Just the different health needs, the changing face of the VA. And these are just with the different age groups, different medical needs, and this is what a lot of our providers continue to be skilled. There's significant classes that are taken, TMS trainings, to be able to provide this care to our female veterans. In addition to the I Am Not Invisible campaign, we also did a Stand Up and Stop Harassment Now campaign. And it was really to educate, provide education that when a female veteran is in the VA, she should be respected. Every veteran should be respected. So we're really getting the word out. It's not okay to say things like, oh, you're too pretty to be a veteran, or things that would make a female feel uncomfortable. Next slide, please. These are just some additional resources. I work very closely with Lucy Ramos. She's the intimate partner violence coordinator. So she and I work closely together about resources for our veterans. These are just some of the additional resources that are available. Next slide. And these are just some information. There is a 24/7 call center line that in any call that comes in for Rhode Island will come to me, and then I will follow up with that veteran. So that's in addition to the crisis line. We also have the Women Veterans Call Center. And these are just the references from the presentation. Thank you. I can't hear anything.
I think I saw that 1 in 5 veterans in Rhode Island are women. And not
1 in 5 veterans are women veterans. I'm not sure that that's a Rhode Island statistic.
Oh, okay. So I think it's not something that a lot of people might think of to go to the VA for OBGYN care and mammograms and things like that. But, it seems if that's you've served, these are benefits that you are entitled to.
Absolutely.
But isn't this kind of a more recent phenomenon? Aren't these newer services? Whereas maybe our older veterans, maybe from the Korean War or World War II, that was not something that they could go to the VA for.
Mm-hmm. So, yes, it's the doors have always been open to all veterans, but through the years, through these past 10, 15 years, it's really grown and more females are coming to the VA.
Mm-hmm.
We do not provide mammography within the VA at this time. So all of that is on the outside. So a female can choose to go where she would like, and that is covered though with VA services.
That's good. I was just reading an article and that some of these things that the military has changed recently for women who serve are having body armor that fits a female body or maternity uniforms. And I think this is a wonderful, I'm glad they've opened their eyes to this.
Sure it is. A wonderful advancement in just continuing to grow and learn and provide, what they need. And
Yes.
that's our job. And it's really an honor for me to serve in my role.
Yep.
I'm not a veteran myself, so I really appreciate what they've done for the rest of us.
And so is your office able to provide some guidance for the women that you serve for their spouses?
Sure. So there are certain guidelines within the VA system as to whether or not a spouse of a veteran is covered. Mm-hmm. Some of that is under the CHAMP VA system. So if they meet the criteria for that, they are then eligible. But even if they don't, if there's additional services, we have a whole, social work department. We have nursing here that will help veterans and their families as well. And we have, as you'll hear later, the caregiver support program for our veterans and their families. So.
That's awesome. Because I think a lot of times the community doesn't recognize that many times a veteran's spouse is eligible for benefits. And we will have one of our speakers talking about specifically the aid and attendance benefit, mm-hmm. but that would also apply for the spouses of women veterans as well.
Correct.
So I'm glad that your office is able to at least guide people in that respect.
Absolutely.
Too. That's wonderful. And I know I have seen firsthand that there is parking available.
Yes, there is. In fact, designated parking too for our women veterans with some signs specific for their vehicles outside the women's clinic. And now we have a great parking garage, so there's no issues with parking any longer. So that's good.
Yes. Yeah. And the building is easy to get into if you have a mobility impairment. And if you're not comfortable in an environment where there are a lot of men, your area is a welcoming reprieve from that.
Thank you. Absolutely. That's what we hope for.
Yeah. I encourage everybody who's watching, if you are a woman who has served, if you are one of our women warriors, that you please reach out to Tonya, because there's a tremendous amount of resources that are now available that, depending on what area you served, may not have even existed before, but now it's there, and please use it. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Tonya. I really appreciate this.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. So my next guest is going to be talking about something that can make people very uncomfortable. And I want to give you a heads up. We will be discussing military sexual trauma, which I understand may make some people uncomfortable. So if you need to step away, I completely understand. I encourage you to take that time to go check out the rielderinfo.com website. But again, I did want to give people that warning. Obviously, we're not going to be graphic, but it might be something that could make you feel uncomfortable. And I want to make sure that I respect that and give you that heads up so that you can make a choice whether or not you continue watching the show for the next 15 minutes. But my next guest is Heather Tarducci, the military and sexual trauma specialist over at the VetCenter. Welcome, Heather.
Thank you, Deb. Thanks so much for having us. We really appreciate it.
Yes.
So I work at the VetCenter, and the VetCenter is actually, we are part of the VA. The VetCenter is actually funded by Congress, and we are able to see certain veterans here at our center. Our center here in Rhode Island is located in Warwick. We are on Warwick Avenue. There is at least one vet center in every state across the country, and many states, some of the bigger states have multiple vet centers. In Rhode Island, we only have one. And my contact information should be somewhere in this presentation. So if you have any questions or you're interested in vet center care, definitely give us a call. So just quickly, next month is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and that's across the nation. I'm here just briefly to talk about military sexual trauma. Military sexual trauma, I guess, loosely is defined as any unwanted sexual contact. So that could be, it may be verbal, it may be an email, it might be pictures. And then it also does include touching, any unwanted touching, or certainly penetration. So military sexual trauma does mirror state law as far as what sexual trauma is. But military sexual trauma is very unique. Veterans, women veterans and men veterans have their own unique challenges when it comes to military sexual trauma, mostly because it may include retaliation. Veterans often don't report if they're concerned that retaliation could become an issue for their career. It may be occurring in a deployment situation. There might be other safety issues involved. Many times when there's a female who has been either sexually harassed or has experienced other forms of military sexual trauma, they're concerned that if they report sexual trauma to their command, that they won't be supported and that safety will be an issue for them. And then also it definitely is a concern of how it will affect somebody's career. And that also expands to how it will affect the veteran's family. So if it's a male or female veteran and they are interested in reporting, they may be concerned that their career will be negatively affected. So because of those issues and others, there are designated military sexual trauma counselors, and I am one. Every vet center has one. I am one. I used to work for the Navy. I was a sexual assault response coordinator there. And then I also worked for the State Coalition Against Sexual Assault and Domestic Violence. So I have some experience both with DOD and civilian sexual trauma issues. And so here at the Vet Center, I'm able to concentrate on military sexual trauma as part of my caseload. Let's see. So I guess with the Vet Center, we should talk a little bit about eligibility. So to be able to come to the Vet Center, you would either be somebody who was combat deployed at some point, and that doesn't have to be served in direct combat. It's just combat operations. Somebody who has experienced military sexual trauma, and they may have just served one day in the military. It could be one day at boot camp, and they had an experience. They would be considered eligible for our services here at the Vet Center. Also at the Vet Center, we take bereavement cases. And then most recently, we are also able to see active duty folks, both Department of Defense and National Guard folks who have served in some sort of operation. And then lastly, and I don't want to forget this, we're able to support families. So if the veteran is in agreement with having their spouse or their significant other being seen here, and maybe even their children, they can be seen here as well. So one of the things about the vet centers that we really like to honor is we are in the community. So we're not actually at the medical center. Like I mentioned, we're in the community. We are in a small kind of a building, nondescript. We have parking. We are pretty easy to get to. Actually, our vet center is located behind the airport, so we're on Warwick Avenue. And every vet center kind of mirrors that. Vet centers were actually started by Vietnam vets, and they wanted a place where they could go, where they could be comfortable, they could have peer support, they could be involved in groups and have a sense of camaraderie, but also have some clinical services. So I just wanted to discuss briefly some of the groups that we have here at the vet center. And these are mostly co-ed groups. We have, certainly we have trauma counseling, because most people that come here either have some form of PTSD or trauma, military sexual trauma, bereavement, family issues. So we definitely specialize in that. And we have some family counselors here too. We have 2. There's 10 counselors in total, and 2 of them are working most specifically with families and children. But we also have an art group. We have a guitar group for veterans. We have a yoga group. I also do a mindfulness group on Mondays. We have a Star Wars trivia group. We have a Netflix and Discuss group. We have a recent returning veterans group. There is a couples group, a walking group, and we're also doing a golf group, a scuba group, and we have some skiing outings that we schedule every year. And then just briefly, so our confidentiality here at the vet center is a little bit different than the medical center. We have our own record keeping system. So if somebody does come to the vet center, our records aren't shared with anybody. We're very strict about confidentiality. We've been able to honor that since the vet center opened. So if a veteran wants their records shared, maybe for service connection purposes, or if they want us to consult with their providers at the medical center, we would just need them to sign a release of information. And if a veteran wants their family to be seen here, again, we would just need the veteran's permission to be able to see the family. And we would be checking in with the veteran every so often, or hopefully they would also be engaged in counseling here. One of the things that we are able to do at the vet center is we have really great partnerships with the community and with our VA medical center. Tonya and I speak quite often about how we can help women veterans and some of the issues that they face. But we also have partnerships with Wounded Warrior Project. We work very closely with Operation Stand Down. We work also very closely with Rhode Island Veteran Court. And we work with Day One in the community that helps victims of sexual assault and hate crimes and domestic violence. So I feel like with all of the combination of our partnerships in the community in Rhode Island specifically, I think the vet center is a fantastic place. And if you're interested in finding out more about us, please give us a call, or you can access us on the website. You can also call us at 401-739-0167. And we have an outreach coordinator. His name is Justin Sharon, and he would be happy to explain a little bit more about what we have here at the vet center and how we might be able to help you.
That's awesome, Heather. And I know that Justin is a very sweet guy. He used to be with Congressman Langevin, and I had an opportunity to actually meet him for the first time there.
Great.
So MST, you know, for our older veterans, there, as a society, it was not something that we talked about. MST was something that, as with many other sexual assaults, was often blamed on the woman. You know, oh my God, she wore nail polish, so therefore it's okay for me to do what I want with her. How might it be different, or how might an individual respond differently based on their age? What needs might vary if you are perhaps a Vietnam veteran who has experienced MST versus someone who's newer, because your cultural experience was different. Do you find that some people kind of almost blame themselves?
Oh, absolutely. So one of the things that I wanted to do was really define what military sexual trauma is, because I think in the past, and maybe some of the older veterans can comment on this, but in the past, because it wasn't talked about, I think the definition of what is sexual trauma, what is appropriate behavior, and what isn't, I think the women knew that it wasn't appropriate, but they didn't really have any recourse or maybe even any policies to back them up. There was no place to report. So I think really just identifying that behavior is sexual trauma is something that we do with the older veterans. So they may come in, they might be describing a scenario to me or a situation that happened to them. And I may be telling them, and this may be the first time that they're hearing it, that was military sexual trauma. So for them, it's a bit of an eye-opening experience. They know that it didn't feel good. They know that they were scared. They know that they feared retaliation, but they didn't really have a term for it. And I think you're right. I think people are talking about it more now. There's more support system in place than there was years ago. And there are some veterans that are coming in and just realizing that for the first time that was military sexual trauma.
Yeah, I think it is awful that it happened, but it raised awareness. The I Am Vanessa movement.
Absolutely.
I think shed a lot of light on things that were happening behind closed doors, the things that weren't talked about. In my career, I happened to meet a wonderful woman who was also a World War II veteran. This is a number of years ago. And she had said that she and her girlfriend, it was their off time. And the thing to do was to go into town and to go dancing. And she and her girlfriend hitched a ride from two other military men into town. Well, by today's standards, hitching a ride with someone is a very bad choice. For this woman, it was a positive outcome. She said that's how she met her husband, and so did her friend, and all four of them really did live happily ever after. But, so often I think it becomes very easy that, victims blame themselves, whereas, no, we need to teach individuals, you don't get a say in doing things to somebody else's person.
Exactly. Yep.
And
I think that's an important point too, because with military sexual trauma, so as long as somebody was active duty, and like I said, even if they served just for one day, that would be considered military sexual trauma. So the person who perpetrated against them could be a military member, it might be somebody out in the community, it could be somebody in their family. That's still considered military sexual trauma. So with that, there's different reporting options with the Department of Defense and different supports that are available. If somebody wants some more information about that, they can certainly contact me directly. But that kind of is important to mention, because some folks think, well, I wasn't on base. I was out in the community and this situation happened. I'm not sure if that's considered military sexual trauma. And that would
right. And so Jennifer Whitworth had a question. How would you distinguish between sexual harassment and MST? Are they considered the same?
That's a great question. Okay, so DOD actually defines it a little bit different than the VetCenter world or the VA world. So under the Department of Defense, sexual harassment and sexual assault are handled a little bit differently. And this may have changed since I left DOD, but the way that I understand it still is that sexual harassment falls under more like EEO, where sexual assault kind of falls under the sexual assault response coordinator, which was my position. Under the VA, we recognize that sexual harassment and sexual assault are both military sexual trauma. And sometimes with sexual trauma, somebody will experience harassment before they actually experience an assault. So we combine them because they're both sexual in nature. And the contact could be, like I said, it could be emails, it could be comments, it could be forced to look at pictures, or it could be an actual assault on somebody's body. So we feel it's the same under VA. And
do you know, if someone has encountered military sexual trauma. Is there a support system to help them report and support them through any legal proceedings?
Yes. So if somebody is, I just want to make sure, are you asking about somebody who's in the military or out of the military?
Yes.
In the military? Okay. So if somebody's in the military, they can report their sexual trauma to the sexual assault response coordinator, which was the position that I held with the Navy. Every installation has one, and they have two forms of reporting. One is restricted reporting, and the other is unrestricted reporting. So I can explain those quickly if you have time.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So with restricted reporting, you're saying to the sexual assault response coordinator or to the victim advocate, I have been assaulted. I want to file a restricted report. So the sexual assault response coordinator or the victim advocate will help the person fill out a form just to document what happened and that they had been assaulted. And then that form is actually stored with the sexual assault response coordinator. So if at some point the person who was victimized wants to come back and then change that restricted report to an unrestricted report, they can do that. The benefits of a restricted report is that their command doesn't find out about the sexual trauma. The person is afforded counseling services and any other services that they may need. Like, for example, if the victim feels like they want to change their location, or they want to change their unit because they feel unsafe, they can go ahead and do that. But there is no investigation. So that's the one downside to a restricted report. The opposite of that would be an unrestricted report, where you're coming forward again to the sexual assault response coordinator or the victim advocate, but then you can also come forward to the police or to a medical provider or even your command. So this is an official report of a sexual assault or a sexual trauma. And at that point, that becomes an unrestricted report, becomes investigatable. So there would be an investigation through CID or NCIS or whoever the investigating agency is. And they may also be working with the local police. So the benefits to that would be that we would be recognizing who the perpetrators are, and hopefully that there will be some justice that would happen. The person's also afforded counseling and services, any support that they need. And often, if it's not in a combat area, the person who is the alleged perpetrator will be taken away from that unit and moved if they're in the same unit, which is nice, so that there's some safety that's afforded to the person who's reporting the assault. But again, there's a full investigation and the command does know about that. So the reason for both is to encourage people to come forward and at least report restricted. Hopefully more people will report unrestricted if they trust the system. And then we can prosecute, the perpetrators more often. Does that make sense?
I do understand, but I'm sure if people have questions, they can certainly reach out to you directly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And MST can, correct me if I'm wrong, MST can be considered a service-connected disability in relation to PTSD and that kind of thing, correct?
Right, Deb. So MST actually isn't the service connection. So the service connection would be, like you said, PTSD, or it might be an anxiety disorder. And then there's often many physical effects that happen with MST. So it might be like gynecological disorders, or it could be, if somebody was attacked, it might do, have something to do with their back or their face or whatever the situation may be. All of those are service connectable. So the actual MST designation isn't service connectable, but the symptoms that come along with it would be.
Okay.
And we don't fill out the paperwork here at the VetCenter for service connection, but we can certainly get the person pointed in the right direction, either through the VBA or through other community agencies, to help people fill out the paperwork to get service connected if they feel like that's in their best interest.
Awesome. Awesome. So I encourage all of our viewers, if you or someone has been a victim of military sexual trauma, to please reach out to Heather. Help is available. You are not alone, and it is not your fault.
Absolutely. Thank you for saying that.
Not your fault. We need to teach people to respect other individuals' bodies, regardless of gender. It's absolutely important. Heather, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Deb. We appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, I really appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So my next guest is a friend of mine, Rachael Garcia. She is a master's in social work. She's with veteran service organizations. She's a military advocate. She is an OIF Air Force veteran. Rachael will come on and discuss the aid and attendance benefit for veterans as well as their spouses, as well as some of the educational benefits that are available out there. Welcome, Rachael. How are you?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yes.
I'm so excited for one. I've been waiting and waiting for this event for months now. So I'm scooped out of my marbles, and I'm really excited to see everybody that I know on the call. I do want to mention that I feel as though, from my perspective, I work really well with all of these organizations, the VA Medical Center, the VetCenter. I've actually done myself Guitars for Vets, which was awesome, by the way. So whenever that comes back prior or post-COVID, I would definitely recommend doing that. It was a lot of fun. So I think, thanks for the introduction. I do work at the University of Rhode Island full-time. So that is my full-time job. I've done a lot of work in transitional assistance. As Deb mentioned, I am a vet. I got out in 2008. So I've just been on this kind of trajectory of trying to figure out my own benefits and everything else. And so from that point, from the time that I got out of the service until this day, I have decided to just learn as much as I can about policy, procedure, VA, transitional assistance, DOD, whatever I can, so that when service members do come home or do come to the university or do come to the community, that it's kind of this one-stop shop. And then whenever I don't have the answer or something, I lean on Jennifer, I lean on Deb, I lean on, Tonya, I lean on all of you folks. So I do appreciate that. And thank you to all my women warriors who are veterans. Thank you for your service and everything that you do. You're honored, and I value you. So I'm not going to go into a real great description of aid and attendance because it's just blah. It's nuts. So I think that there's a really good website. I think the va.gov website is doing a good job at outlining the eligibility criteria. So I would just say that there's VA pension. You have to be eligible for VA pension or compensation in order to get aid and attendance. You also have to be you have to have a disability or be over the age of 65. There's a couple of things involved in this. You also have to have the service member served at least one day in a wartime period. All of this information can be located on yours or the Veterans DD-214. I think the easiest thing for you to know is that you have advocates in the community and representatives. So if you need help filling out paperwork, there's plenty of people to lean on. You can lean on me to do that. Because I work full-time at the university and I volunteer my services for the Veterans of Foreign Wars, I have been doing this work for about a decade now. And I am nationally accredited through the Veterans of Foreign Wars. So that means that I can complete and do claims all the way up until the Board of Veteran Appeals for anybody that is a veteran who needs a service connection or a pension or aid and attendance. Now, with that said, because I'm nationally accredited, I do sometimes do claims outside of the state of Rhode Island. So I do get very, very busy. So what's really great is that I have lots of people to lean on, and I have some apprentices, and I have some folks that are helping me, Maya Hill and Vets Inc., Delight Bucko, my grad assistant. We're all working together to really help the community at large. So if you want to reach out to me, my contact information will pop up or be focused on in the chat. And then you can reach out to me about aid and attendance, eligibility. What I need is your DD-214 or the Veterans DD-214. And if you don't know how to do that, you can contact probably anybody on this list, and we can help you facilitate that. So it's just a National Archives. So what the aid and attendance benefit offers, that's probably an important thing. So they give you a monetary benefit every month to help cover the cost, not the total cost, of assisted living, of in-home care, of facility care, whatever that looks like for you. So the veteran qualifies, and a surviving spouse may qualify. So if you are a surviving spouse of a veteran and you have not remarried and you are in need of care and you are eligible based on age and income, then you might be able to have this benefit. So again, like I said, if you think you might be eligible because somebody told you about it and it popped up in your brain and you want to contact somebody, I highly suggest just reaching out to me and we can go over what you qualify for. So and then just briefly on education, Deb, because I'm not going to, like I said, I don't want to confuse anybody, because I really think that it's just the step-by-step process for aid and attendance, and you have reps. And even if you don't want me to represent you or anybody to represent you, but you want me to check over your claim, oh, I'm happy to do that. I would much rather you submit a claim that is fulfilled and fully developed and or standard developed, and we could submit it and I can help you through the process, than you doing this on your own. So don't worry about being represented if that's something you don't want to do. I'm happy to look over your claim. Education. So in the state of Rhode Island, we have a few educational benefits. We have the National Guard Tuition Assistance Program, which gives our National Guard members, Air and Army, free tuition at RIC, CCRI, and URI in the state, up to 5 classes each semester, which is a really great benefit. So if any of you are service members and you didn't know, or you did know, but you didn't know how to do it, it's actually not that challenging. So I can help you through the whole process. If you want to go back to school, if you want to take a couple of classes, one of the misconceptions is that you have to take a full course load, and you don't. So you can just dabble in classes if you want while you're working through the Guard. Another educational benefit we have in the state of Rhode Island is called the Disabled American Veterans Waiver. And so if you are a Rhode Island resident, you live in the state of Rhode Island, and you have a service connection of 10% or greater, you qualify for free tuition or a waived tuition at URI, CCRI, and RIC. So some folks don't know about that either. Another thing is, I don't just do aid and attendance, I do compensation. So if you're like, I've never filed a claim, I'll tell you, after I got out of the military, it took me 5 years to file my first claim. I didn't access the VA Medical Center. I didn't know I had access to anything. I didn't call myself a veteran for the longest time. I had no idea. My transition out was not the best. And so now I have access to all of these types of resources. So just note that if you're sitting there and you're like, oh, it's been 5 years, it's been 10 years, it's been 15 years, it's been 25 years. I file claims for World War II veterans, so you can do it too. All I need is a DD-214 and you. So just come to me and I kind of like get all of the things out from you. And I try to look at it as a holistic approach. So I think, yeah, and then just for education too for veterans, outside of the DAV and outside of the STAP waiver, the GI Bill, right? So there's all of that. That is a complexity in its own. There's many, many different forms of the GI Bill, and it's very subjective in a lot of different areas, specifically if you're utilizing vocational rehab or the R&E services, which is the Chapter 31. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. You can reach out to me and we can talk about it. And then there's also plenty of scholarships and grants. My goal is to ensure that if you are a student veteran or you are a dependent of a veteran and you're coming to school either at URI or any school, that essentially you probably won't have any debt. That's my goal. My goal is to assure that you get the scholarships and grants that you need as long as you're eligible. So with that said, just as a kind of like a summary, just know that I'm here for you. I work for the Veterans of Foreign Wars. I volunteer my time. I'm at a post 152. I love it. And I'm working all across the state. I do things virtually. I do things through Zoom. I do things through phone. I've gone to veterans' homes when they can't, masked up. We're all protected. So whatever modality it is, just know that I am one person and that I do have another job that I'm doing, and that I try to get back to you within a couple of days to a week. So I think that's I don't know how else to say that, Deb.
That was great. You quite often, as you know, are my go-to gal. I direct people to you all the time. So I think one of the things that people a lot of times miss out is on the aid and attendance benefit is that it will cover the spouses. So for our viewers today, that could be their husbands.
Yes.
And so I had a quick question. I heard a reference to this term, and it wasn't something I was familiar with, the first family. So when we talk about benefits for veterans, are the spousal benefits for those spouses who are currently spouses, or for the spouses who were the spouses when the veteran was serving?
That's the DOD thing. So the whole thing about serving while married has everything to do with retirement and DOD. It has really nothing to do with VA benefits. Mm-hmm. You as a veteran, so for me, right, I've been married 3 times. Shout out. I'm not doing a 4th, by the way. So anyways, my spouse, because I got remarried, that first spouse is not eligible for VA benefits at all because that new spouse is eligible. And so if I die and my spouse becomes a widow, the last spouse, right, they might receive DIC or other benefits through the VA if I'm service connection and I happen to have passed away from a service connection disability or other things. There's different methods to that, but just realize that if you are the spouse now, and even if your husband or wife or whomever they served in 1970 and you guys got married in 1990, you're the beneficiary. So for VA benefits, at least.
Okay.
Now the thing is like the VA is really, when you fill out your dependency forms through the VA, they oftentimes will ask about prior marriages. So the reason why they do that is because I have seen in the past where there wasn't a proper divorce and the service member got remarried and had kids. And then they passed away. And because there wasn't a proper divorce, the wife before took all the benefits of the veteran. So the kids weren't even eligible for that stuff. So there's some things that you have to be conscious of. But typically speaking, I think nowadays, if you're getting remarried, you probably should have a proper divorce. But I always ask that just to make sure.
Yeah. When you think about, in the 50s, 60s, 40s, sometimes the spouse walked away.
Right.
They were gone and it wasn't a divorce situation. And, there's obviously some legal things that to get that completed, you have to find them and serve them and do all that legal pieces. So a lot of folks sometimes just said, I am divorced and I'm free to get married when in fact they didn't. So I think that's a really good point. What about the children of veterans? I heard it piqued my curiosity because right now, is the time of year when a lot of parents are completing the financial aid forms and the college applications and acceptance letters are coming out. You mentioned something about students who are children of veterans might be eligible for services. I'm sorry, not services, but at least tuition assistance. Tell people more about that.
Yeah. So if you're a service member and you have kiddos or a spouse or what have you, there's the transfer of GI Bill that you can do. You have to do it while you're in service. You have to sign up for an additional 4 years. You have to be in for 6 years at least. There's a couple of things, but you talk to your unit, you have to be in service. Like if you're a veteran and you're no longer in the military, you can't transfer your benefits anymore. It's too late. And I'm sorry if somebody told you that you could, but you couldn't. You can't. There's some things like Purple Heart veterans or folks that weren't able to transfer their benefits at the time because maybe they were out processing due to like med status, or maybe there was a transition in the law during that time. So if you meet that requirement, we might be able to pressure the DOD a little bit about that transfer of benefit. But just remember that the DOD is much different than the VA. So it's a little bit more pressured situation, but yeah, so dependents. So there's the transfer to post 9/11 GI Bill. There's also dependent scholarships. I know that the Navy War College puts out some scholarships for our kiddos, for active duty service members and their kids going to college. I know that there is my student veterans organization at URI. They compile a list of dependent scholarship based on branch of service. So if your parent or your spouse served in the Navy, for instance, there might be a naval scholarship for children in the Navy or spouses in the Navy. There's the Tillman Scholarship also, which is the Pat Tillman Foundation. You might want to look into that. There are lots of opportunities. I would suggest that if you are looking for a comprehensive maybe look about, to go on my website at uri.edu, veterans page. It's the Veteran Affairs page. And then just click on the financial aid scholarship tab. And I've created the website not only to just focus on my URI prospective and current students, but for anybody looking for information about education. So it's really itemized in the way that, the federal government is, it's pretty uniform. So if you're in one state, you probably have the same GI Bill as in another state, right? So you can go down the list of things. And there's also what's called a DEA, which is Chapter 35 benefits for those folks that have a service member who is 100% service-connected PNT. So you might be eligible for Chapter 35, and that would pay for, that would offset some of the cost of education. I think I have about 40 students on campus who are using that benefit. So I know that there are a lot of service members that are, that are accessing that, and spouses are also eligible for that too. So that's another thing. And if you are a 100%er and you're PMT and you do have a spouse or a child, remember the children thing, okay? My dad is a vet, and I can't be his dependent anymore because I'm too dang old. So you have to be under the age of 18 or in college up until a certain point of age. So if you're in your 30s or 40s, you ain't no dependent anymore.
Or we hope not.
But I think that answered your question as far as the dependence thing. I think in the nutshell, there's just so much out there and so many things. And it's like, you need to find folks like this on this call that can ask you the questions so you know the questions to answer, because there are things that I don't even know how to ask because I didn't even know the question existed. And so I find that with veterans often, specifically women veterans whom haven't identified as maybe a veteran for a long time, or who do not feel the community aspect of being a vet. So we talk about that a lot. And I love the Invisible campaign. I love everything about that because it's just highlighting us as individuals and unique people. We are veterans too. So I appreciate all of that. But any other questions before I get off rant and tangent?
So real quick, do people need to pay or hire someone to do the VA benefits? Is that something that, like a lot of times, particularly for our older veterans, it is the adult children who are maybe trying to navigate for their parents who are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, and they may not know who to go to, who to reach out to, and not understand what kind of cost is involved. What can they, what do they need to pay?
Yeah. So a zero for me. 0, 0. Like, you shouldn't even have to. I'm a huge proponent of not charging veterans to do service officer work. For one, you can't charge a veteran to fill out forms because it's a federal, like, you can't do that. You cannot. So if somebody's asking you to pay upfront to fill out an aided attendance or a VA compensation claim, you let me know and I'll take it to Director Yarn, because that's not okay. But if they are going through the entire process and they might receive some back pay, such as a lawyer, they could do that. But my services and the services in the community are typically 100% free. You don't have to pay for anything. What I like about being free.com is that I don't have to worry about, I know my job. It's on you to get the stuff that I need going, and then you come back to me. So I'm too busy to chase everybody down, but I will follow up with you. So I like that aspect because it puts the onus and the empowerment back on you as a service member, as the veteran completing the form or the caregiver. I'm going to walk you through the whole process. Trust me. I mean, if anybody's ever worked with me, I'm very, very itemized and specific. You'll know what the process is and you'll know how to complete the entire claim yourself, just in case, who knows what's going to happen to me. I might move to Hawaii after all this. So I would just say that if you're being charged right now, or you've spoken to somebody who was like, oh yeah, we'll pay you $8,000, do not do it. There is plenty of people in Rhode Island that can do claims at an expert level. So VBA does claims, and they're taking virtual appointments now at the Providence VA, which I just want to shout out to the Providence Benefits Administration, because a lot of regional offices around I shouldn't say a lot. A couple of regional offices I've noticed around the nation are shut down, and they're not even doing any claims. So the Providence VAMC, or the Providence VA Benefits Administration, opened up their virtual appointments to everybody. So I thought that was really nice, and good on Providence for that.
Yay, Providence.
Yeah.
and to the viewers, I just wanted to let you all know that all of my guests, their services, their resources are free. You don't have to pay. Rachael, you are absolutely amazing. I know when I share your contact information with people that I can trust that they are going to be taken care of. They're going to be treated with respect and with dignity, and they might be coming to you completely frazzled because of the situation they're in. And I know that you offer a steady hand, and I appreciate that.
Oh, you too, Deb. Are you kidding me? You just got to calm people down, because the forms are hard. I acknowledge that. The forms are so complex. And if you're getting information from so-and-so, Jill, John, Jeff, whatever, and you think that you have to do I make it very simple. And just, we'll get you taken care of.
Yes. And you can get people connected with the money that they so often need to continue to be successful in life.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming today, Rachael. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me.
And you're going to be my special guest tomorrow on the RI Elder Info Caregiver Support Group.
Yes.
So tomorrow at 10 o'clock.
Let's do it.
All right. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Well, everybody, we're going to take a short break till about 10:34. Enough time for you to run and refill that cup of coffee or a cup of tea, grab a glass of water, run to the bathroom. I have to say again, this has been an amazing morning so far. Would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. We're really grateful to Raytheon Technologies, Cross Country Mortgage, Oak Street Health, England Studio, D&B Media, Loisel Insurance Company, Tamarisk Assisted Living. What we do is not possible without the support of our community partners and with the support of you, our viewers. You can always go on RI Elder Info, hit the donate button. You know, if everybody who watches today did $1 is really not a big deal for a lot of folks. That $1 is something that can help sustain this kind of programming all year. So again, enjoy a break. I will see you back here in about 4 minutes. Thanks. You know, you would think after a year of Zooming that I would remember to take my microphone and stop the mute. But that's the beauty of live stream. These things happen. So welcome, everyone. If you're just checking in now after break, this is Calling All Women Warriors, an opportunity to get the information and resources out there for women veterans. It is being recorded, so if you've missed some of it, you can always go back and watch. If you're just joining us, or if you have been joining us and have not done yet, please hit the like button and share this information out. I guarantee that there are people that you know that need the information that is being provided. So I'm Deb Burton, the founder and creator of RI Elder Info. We are a nonprofit here in Rhode Island, and what we do would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. I would like to bring up one of our sponsors this morning, Susan Pomfret from Cross Country Mortgage.
Good morning, Deb.
Hi, Susan. How are you?
I am great. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's our pleasure to support you and Rhode Island Elder Info and all that you do. You're such a resource for me, for my clients, and I really appreciate you. So I just want to let everybody know that my name is Susan Pomfret. I am the Senior Vice President of the Home Equity Conversion Mortgage Division here at Cross Country Mortgage. So I help veterans and seniors 60 and older to stay and age in place in their home with either a HECM or a reverse mortgage. With that being said, I'm happy to say that we actually have Christine Camoli from our Rhode Island office, who is the regional director of our VA initiatives. So reach out to me. I can connect you with Christine. We have an office in Greenville, Rhode Island, and in East Greenwich. So we're here to help and just educate and provide services so that everybody has a financially stress-free retirement.
That is awesome. And I think, one of the things I love about working with you, Susan, is you've been such an advocate for our older adults. That's how we first met. I know that you've been on the board over at the Alzheimer's Association. You were part of the Aging and Community Subcommittee, where we really looked at the resources around the state. So I'm confident that you provide top-notch services in a way that can be trusted and relied on. There at Cross Country Mortgage. So thank you very much for being one of our sponsors. We really appreciate it. What we do is impossible without your support.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. And my next guest has a very creative program. You may have heard of her. Her name is Karen Dalton of the Dare to Dream Ranch right here in Rhode Island. Hi, Karen.
Hi, how are you? Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Tell everyone, what is the Dare to Dream Ranch?
Dare to Dream Ranch is a 501c3 nonprofit that offers alternative therapy programs for service members, veterans, and their families with PTSD, anxiety, depression, military sexual trauma, mild traumatic brain injury, and stroke recovery. We offer equine therapy, woodworking, fly fishing and fly tying. We now offer beekeeping. We now offer agritherapy. We're raising cows. My fiance is a Navy veteran and grew up on a Texas cattle ranch and rode rodeo in high school and in the Navy. And he wanted to teach veterans how to raise cows. So we now have agritherapy here as well, and hiking and peer-to-peer programs, as well as some other types of support, which is at no cost to our clients.
So Karen, tell me, what is equine therapy? Is that like horseback riding? What does that look like?
So it's what I offer is equine facilitated coaching, which is a form of equine therapy. We do groundwork exercises with the horses to help our veterans and their families with relationship skill building, nonverbal communication, and trust and leadership by doing exercises with the horses on the ground.
So when you say on the ground, so people are not riding?
They're not riding, no.
And what is it about horses that makes them good at therapy?
So a horse is a hypervigilant fight or flight animal. Somebody with PTSD and anxiety can be very hypervigilant and fight or flight. A horse will mirror back what you're giving off. So you may not realize that your energy and your facial expressions are showing anxiety or anger, and the horse is going to mirror that back to you. Mm-hmm. Our program, the horse is not tethered. So you're in a safe location. You're completely 100% safe. I will never put anybody in a situation where it's unsafe. But you are not tethered to that horse. There's no halter, no lead rope. We discuss what kind of challenges that you may be going through. And then I may give you an exercise to do with the horses to help you figure out those challenges yourself by working through it with the horse.
That is amazing. And so some people have asked, what is it, a particular kind of horse that you use, or?
It is not. We have draft horses. We have regular size horses. We have ponies. We have miniature horses. I have a female combat veteran that comes out with her son as a bonding time for them to work through their both of them have been through some challenges, and they work with the miniature horses and our Nigerian dwarf goats. They don't even go in with the big horses. So there's lots of different opportunities, and the agritherapy, like beekeeping, we have combat veterans that come out and work with the bees, and you really have to focus on your breath and your movement and slow things down so that you don't agitate, a few thousand bees. and then we have gardening. So I'm very excited. She's to have Trisha Bouchier, who's a female combat veteran that attended beekeeping course with me at Rhode Island College back in 2019. She attended our first peer-to-peer retreat here at the ranch, which was in September of 2019. It is led by veterans, for veterans, and it's a full day. We do yoga, archery, hiking, equine therapy. We have a breakfast provided and lunch. We have 2 planned for this year. And then we also have some hiking excursions planned as well. We have a 35-year Army veteran that is very interested in doing the peer-to-peer and the hiking. So he's coordinating all that. So my father was a Marine that struggled with anger management issues. I grew up with that. At 15, I met my ex-husband. He also ended up with anger management issues. And I developed fibromyalgia. And things that helped me were the gardening. I loved growing vegetables and flower gardens and horses. And then other people came to me and said, well, this helped me. Can I do this? So that's where we have a 22-year Navy chief that woodworking helped him, and he does our woodworking program. We have George Huddleston, who's the Army veteran who runs our hiking and our peer-to-peer programs in partnership with another Navy veteran that has his own gym, and they coordinate the hiking and peer-to-peer programs. And then, like I said, Navy veteran that does the raising cows, chickens, and rabbits. And then we have Army veteran that is now, so Tricia has taken over as our horticulture director. She went to the URI Master Gardening Program with me back at the end of 2019, and then she signed up for their Master Gardening Program and her bachelor's in plant science, and she's working on that right now. So she's taking over that program. She will be coordinating that and running educational programs around gardening and the benefits of gardening. So as females go through different things and we react differently, since this is, not just a veteran conference, it's about women, and we're nurturers by, naturally, and finding ways that, women can be able to receive benefits of healing it may be different than a man does. It may be the same, but being open to be able to trying new things is, where we have really seen a good benefit.
So Karen, you've got draft horses, you have mini horses, you have goats, you have farms, you have farming, you have cows, you have bees. Where is this treasure located? Where is this hidden nirvana at?
We are located in Foster, Rhode Island, right off Route 6. We're 30 minutes from Providence. If anybody knows how to get to the casinos, you got to bypass our road to get there. It's like I said, it's 30 minutes from Providence. It's a northwest corner of Rhode Island. But we do see clients from all over. We have a double amputee female that will be coming in June 2nd through the 6th for a retreat. Mm-hmm. So we do 4-night, 5-day retreats. They come in on a Wednesday, they leave on a Sunday. Wednesday and Sunday is depending on what times, would depend on how much we get done. But Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, they would get up, they'd help with morning chores. I provide the breakfast, I actually cook it for them. we do equine therapy. I provide their lunch, and then they get to choose one of our other programs in the afternoon, from a day at the range, archery, yoga, deep sea fishing. And then they come back, they help with afternoon chores. I make them dinner, they get to relax on the farm. So that is Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And like I said, depending on what time they come in, will depend on what we can do on Wednesday and Sunday. But I have somebody coming on June, like I said, 2nd through the 6th. She's a double amputee. She was the only survivor from her IED explosion. Her medic seat flipped on top of her, preventing her from getting burned. But she did lose both legs below the knees, and she's very excited to be coming out. And she's actually in a documentary called Service When Women Come Marching Home, and we will be doing that screening here on our facility on June 5th. So we invite anybody that's listening in to reach out, and we'll set up sign-ups so to make sure I have enough seats for everybody and hors d'oeuvres for when we do the screening.
That sounds like an amazing screening. So for the participants who come and use your services, what are the costs involved? What do they pay?
They don't pay anything. We raise, personally fundraise through personal donations, some grants, fundraising events. We raise the money to be able to pay for our facility fees and our animals and their care. There are no paid staff. Everybody is volunteer staff here. So, and like I said, nobody, we don't charge anything. So we get sponsors to do different things like the peer-to-peer retreat programs, as well as sponsors for different things that we're doing. Maybe a pre-post mid-deployment event. We might have Texas Roadhouse has donated all the food, so we wouldn't have to pay for the food. And we get all our volunteers to come together and support our clients.
Okay, and someone had asked in the chat, are these programs one-to-one, or are they group therapy? Is it sort of a blend? How is that?
A blend. So, if it's a family that's working on a communication relationship issue, they could come as a family. Mostly it is one-on-one. The mid-deployment events, yellow ribbon events, those are groups, right? So we had 50 people this past August that came for the 115th that was currently deployed, and being outside gave them a way to safely, during the COVID pandemic, come out and be able to have a nice time outside. We had a great day, thankfully. And, the kids got to interact with all the different animals. We have 100 animals here. It was just a fun day. We had pony rides. We have a steer that I have trained to give rides. So they rode the steer, they rode the cow, they got to pet all the bunnies and the goats and miniature horses and donkeys and cows and see the baby cows. And so it's a very fun event.
Wow, that sounds amazing. And so no cost to the veteran or their family. And
Correct.
to have a farm that large, to have that many animals, there used to be a saying, you make hay when there's hay to be made, but these days we're not really making hay. You got to go out and buy it. And I would imagine, you've got the food bills for the animals, the farrier and blacksmith, you've got
the vet.
The vet.
The vet. So speaking of not having hay, we had a drought last year, in case anybody didn't realize that. And my hay guy is driving all the way down to Pennsylvania, and his delivery that he gave me last month was more straw than it was grass. And I currently have a horse that's colicking, and the vet has been back and forth for 3 days. So that's going to be a hefty bill.
Yeah.
So yes, it on average is between $5,000 and $7,000 a month to cover our facility fees, electric, heat, electric, insurances. I have 3 different insurances, food for all the animals, care for the animals. Every 6 weeks, the farrier is out to trim all their hooves, things like that.
That's awesome. So are you a nonprofit?
We're a 501c3 nonprofit, yes.
So if people wanted to support what it is that you're doing, and make sure that your services remain free for the men and women who have served, how can they support Dare to Dream Ranch?
Getting involved one way or another, attending an event, volunteering. if you have any type of landscaping skills, carpentry skills, cutting down trees, things like that, we're always looking for volunteers. In order for me to be on here right now and take care of the horse that is sick, one of my volunteers was here at 8:45 this morning so that I could show her how to take care of the horse so that I could be on this call. So it's a lot of hands-on. So if somebody's available, and if they can't do physical stuff, maybe it's social media, maybe it's helping to reach clients or a sponsor. We have the 401 Gives that's coming up April 1st. If you go to our Facebook page, Dare to Dream Ranch, or our website, daretodreamranch.org, click on donate on April 1st and help us raise money. We are surrounded by hundreds of acres of land, but there's a Vietnam veteran that owns 10 acres next to us and has offered that to us to expand our programs. We have partnered with Center for Dynamic Learning that is teaching inner city at-risk youth building and engineering skills and taking shipping containers and turning them into 100% sustainable tiny homes. They are dropping them off here for our veterans to live at no cost in exchange for working the ranch. Our first one should get here mid-April. And we have a Army veteran that served 24 years and after 2 divorces did not have the funds to be able to get his own place when he retired in October. So he's staying with family, but he's going to be our first resident for that. And then as we were able to buy up land around us, we're hoping to be able to put more of those container homes on our facility.
Wow. You're just, Karen, you are a powerhouse. You are doing so many things. I am so glad that you were able to get on here and share what you're doing. I encourage all the viewers out there, if you can donate to Dare to Dream Ranch, donate. If you have a skill set, if you can volunteer, it doesn't take a lot to be able to throw some hay. It's a skill set easily learned.
And most importantly, if you know somebody that is struggling, we have had way too many suicides. I mean, one suicide is bad, but this COVID isolation has really increased the amount of suicides that I have heard of just in Rhode Island. I had a veteran out to see our facility yesterday, and 2 weeks ago, one of his friends took his own life and left a 15-year-old daughter behind. So if you know of somebody that is struggling and traditional therapy is not working, they can, do this and do traditional therapy, or come and at least, come here and work with the animals, talk to one of the other veterans here and realize that you're not alone, that there are other veterans here that can help you through whatever challenges. When somebody comes and they work with the animals, it's not just working with the animals, it's really listening to the root cause of what the issues might be, where, maybe they don't make enough money, so they're stressed with the finances and obligations, and we might connect them with another veteran that offers to write their resume for nothing, rewrite their resume, help them find a better job, help make more money. You need food and you don't have enough money for food. I have a Vietnam veteran that contacts me every week. Karen, you got a new family I can donate food to? Because he gets frozen meats and packaged foods every single week donated to him. He comes somebody to give it to. So, and through Christmas, I had somebody reach out to me. Husband was deployed and they had an animal that needed emergency eye surgery, had to have an eye removed. And what resources do you have out there? And I just reached out to my resources and said, hey, anybody can help with this. And we not only were able to pay for get the donations to cover their expenses for the emergency vet bill, we also gave them we supported everything. We gave them food, and we gave their kids like an unbelievable, they got everything and anything they wanted on their list. So it really is a great community. We have amazing support.
Yes, that is awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing today. And
Thank
you're
you.
absolutely right. Spread the word. One veteran suicide is too many, and it is going up. I have Jean Smith who will be speaking more about that a little later. But yeah, absolutely. Get connected. If you're a viewer and you have the financial ability to provide some financial support, that would be awesome. If you have the ability to provide physical support, go do it. And if you don't maybe have the physical ability or the time, then share on social media. It makes a
Absolutely.
difference. Thank
Absolutely.
you.
If we can reach one more person, it really has made made a difference in that one person's life. So thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Karen.
Thank you.
Well, that was absolutely amazing. My next guest is Lindsey Arigno from Operation Stand Down. Welcome, Lindsey.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Hi, Lindsey. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. Can you share with our viewers what is Operation Stand Down and what kind of unique programs you might have there for women?
Yes, I would love to. So Operation Stand Down is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We are the leading Rhode Island nonprofit for homeless and at-risk veterans. We've been around for about 30 years now. We provide 88 units of our own housing that we own, and that contains permanent and transitional housing, to include GPD housing, which is connected through the VA. And we also do 2 recovery houses where we house veterans that are in recovery from any type of substance abuse. So the GPD grant with the VA, we have 2 houses that are connected with that. One is in West Warwick, and then one is here in Johnston. The one in Johnston is the Holly Charrette house, which I think you have mentioned. That is our all-female housing. That has 6 units of housing, and they can stay there for up to 2 years. If anybody has more questions about what qualifies them for GPD housing, you can reach out to us and we can answer those for you. Our more permanent housing, same thing. It depends on qualifications and what you're eligible for, and we can go more into depth with that if somebody is in need of that type of housing. We also provide employment and training services, which is what I do here, along with case managing for the recovery housing. So employment and training, we help veterans and their families find jobs or any type of training that they may be interested within the state. And how we do that is we have a federal grant and a state grant, HVRP and Real Pathways. And the Real Pathways program is the Real Jobs Rhode Island, which is a great resource for anybody looking to get back into work. Especially now they have a whole program because of COVID. It's a Rhode Island Back to Work program. So if anybody is in need of assistance in finding a job, or maybe they would like to find a better job with more pay or more benefits, there are a lot of companies hiring in Rhode Island right now. So if you know of somebody, or if you are that person and you're a veteran or a spouse or a child in the immediate house of that veteran, we can assist you find employment and training. We also provide legal assistance. We do service connection and appeals for VA disability. Can also do SSI, SSDI, and any type of other maybe legal help, evictions and things like that. We have a legal team here that would be more than happy to provide assistance for that. And if you have any questions about something that you don't know if we do it, or if we might refer you to somebody that can do it, please reach out, take a look at our website, and see what we can provide for you. We also do 2 main events throughout the year, which is our Stand Down weekend. Most people know of that as like the encampment that happens at Diamond Hill. It was a little different this past year due to COVID, but we still managed to have somewhat of a Stand Down weekend, just not as big as we normally do. And Stand Down weekend is all the providers throughout Rhode Island that assist veterans to some type of capacity get together, and it's a one-stop shop service for homeless, at-risk veterans, service members. Anybody can attend it as long as you have that veteran affiliation. And you can get a haircut, you can take a shower, you get hot meals, you can see the VA, We make a courtroom out of a tent. You can get services there, maybe DMV stuff. And it's just a really good weekend. It provides that camaraderie that most people miss when they transition out of the military. And it's just a good time. And that happens the third weekend every September. Our other big event, which is we are doing this year, and it's coming up, it's going to be here, I feel like before we know it, is Boots on the Ground. So Boots on the Ground is a memorial for service members who have lost their lives post 9/11. I believe we are probably now at almost 7,000 boots. And so that weekend it's at Fort Adams in Newport, and all the boots are laid out. They have a display tag with that service member's name, a little bit of their story, their hometown, and each boot has a flag placed next to it. And then we have the Rhode Island boots in a circle in the front. It's a really heartwarming thing, and obviously sad to see. So if you're able to come check it out this year at Fort Adams, that's over Memorial Day weekend, and we're there from Friday to Monday. And that's pretty much it. We provide all things assistance for any veteran service member and their family.
So for those people who may not remember, Holly Charrette was, I believe it was in Operation Iraqi Freedom. We lost Holly. Holly was a couple of years ahead of my daughter in high school. So that's a name that's always rung a bell. The Boots on the Ground, I encourage everybody to go see it. It is one of the most powerful things. It's right up there with visiting Arlington. And I think maybe what makes it a little, I won't say more powerful, but differently powerful is there's names and pictures and the stories that went with those boots. And it's amazing to see how many men and women in Rhode Island alone have been lost. So that, I'm really grateful. That's how I first learned of Operation Stand Down with Boots on the Ground. I had the pleasure of meeting an individual who was supported by the Holly Charrette House. Can you explain what the Holly Charrette House does for women veterans and how it comes to be that a woman might need the services of the Holly Charrette House?
Sure. So the Holly Charrette House is managed by one of our workers here. Her name is Sherry Elderkin. The Holly Charrette House is, again, all women veteran housing. Most of them, I would say, have gotten out of the military because of military sexual trauma. Not all, but that's what we see the most there. And they might be transitioning out of the military during that time of moving into that house. So that house provides more of a wraparound service and a one-on-one with a case manager, which that being Sherry. And every female veteran in that house is also connected with the VA. That's why it's GPD housing. They're eligible to stay there up to 2 years. And while they're there, they also receive any service that we offer here, to include our food pantry, our clothing shed. We can help all those individuals gain a job if that's what they're searching for, maybe some training. If they're not sure if they want to start working yet, maybe they have some other things to work on first. If they want to be set up maybe with the VetCenter or therapy at the VA, most of them also have a VA social worker as well. So it's really an entire wraparound service for whatever direction that they want to go in. And we meet the veteran where they're at that moment. And whatever they need is what we do our best to provide for them.
It's interesting, the things that we don't often think about that can be barriers for women that I think sometimes men don't experience. So you have the clothing closet, and there you can get, if you are in need of employment, you can go to your clothing closet and have clothing that is appropriate to go for an interview or to have that office job. But
Right.
the interesting thing that I think, when you're thinking from a high level that doesn't necessarily cross everyone's mind and truly made a difference in the life of the woman that I was speaking with, are proper hairbrushes and hair products and makeup. Because just because you're encountering a really challenging point in life doesn't mean that you don't want to do your hair, that you don't want to do your makeup. But the other part of that, besides, when we look good, we feel good, is when we're going for a job interview, women are judged differently. We are judged on our appearances.
Right.
And so I think, the fact that the Holly Charrette House, that's one of the things that was thought about. I think that might be different than a lot of other housing organizations or housing providers. Is
Yes,
that
absolutely.
you see the whole person. How about individuals who, maybe they have been out of the service for a while and are victims of domestic violence? Is Operation Stand Down able to provide any kind of help with that?
So that might be a little bit different situation, but if they're a veteran and we have somebody reach out to us that's like, hey, I know of this veteran that is going through this, we do our best to try to make contact with the veteran directly, just so we can see what it is they need and not hear from a third party. So we go direct with the veteran. That's the easiest way to do things. And we have people like Sherry. If it's a woman veteran, she handles all that because she's the case manager for the Holly Charrette House. So we'll have her reach out, and maybe they need to get better connected with the VA. Maybe they have medical at the VA, but maybe they haven't been yet, or maybe they don't know where to go or who to call. So we can definitely help direct them with the best avenue for them. And as veterans, a lot of it is a pride thing. They either don't want to reach out, they don't know who to reach out to, or maybe they've spoken to two people before and it never got anywhere and they just got discouraged and they gave up. We see all of that happen because the veteran community, it's a different community. We act differently towards life events, and sometimes we get so far involved with what is going on that people can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So we encourage everybody, if you know somebody that is in need of assistance and they are a veteran, to reach out, call us, give us their contact information, have them contact us directly, have them check out our website. If they're not comfortable, they can send an email. We check it daily. Leave us a voicemail. Call us after hours if you don't maybe want to speak to somebody directly. We're always here.
That's awesome. And I have to say, like, you guys have always been very responsive. I was very happy to receive an invitation to participate in 2019 pre-COVID with Stand Down Weekend. At that time, it was held at Diamond Hill Park. And it was an absolute joy to be a part of that. But it was so cool to see so many resources in one place. There was a giant, capital letters, giant mess hall that provided the best food. There were places for people to sleep. The barber and hairdresser tent was constantly busy. The medical tent. I believe there was also a dentist on site, which I know a lot of times that getting into a dentist can be far too much of a barrier. I'll say it that way. And I got the call that depending on what the COVID protocols are, that stand down weekend will be taking place in 2021.
Yes, yes, hopefully. But if we continue on this path, yes, absolutely.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And Operation Stand Down, is it a nonprofit?
Yes, we are a 501c3, a nonprofit. And to touch on that too, the community that supports us and all the organizations that are probably on this call is just absolutely incredible. Our food pantry is all from donations. All the hygiene products that we have are also all from donations. It's just incredible the amount of support and volunteers that we have for Stand Down Weekend, boots on the ground, all of those things wouldn't be possible with just the staff that we have here. I mean, we can do a lot, but the support from everybody else is incredible.
Awesome. And if people wanted to support, do you need volunteers or do you need cash donations? What works best? All of the above.
Yeah, pretty much all of the above, whatever works best for them. If they want to donate food, we always accept food donations. We're here Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. We're located right in Johnston on Hartford Ave. If they want to donate, they can check out our website, osdri.org. There's a donate button right on the top. If you want to volunteer, give us a call. We can put you on your volunteer list. We send out emails for all of our events, and maybe we might need some extra help, like rearranging the food pantry or something like that. We are always accepting volunteers.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Lindsey.
Yes, thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So my next guest has a critically important role at the Providence VA. One is too many. 21 and more per day is astounding. I would like to welcome to the screen Jean Smith, the Providence VA Medical Center's Suicide Prevention Coordinator. Welcome, Jean.
Hi, Deb. Thank you for having me. I have to say that I'm one of 3 suicide prevention coordinators at the Providence VA now. Because suicide prevention has become such an important topic, we finally got enough staff to address the problem of suicide among our veterans. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So can you please share with our viewers what resources are available at the Providence VA and what resources, if someone's not able to get to the Providence VA, how they can reach out for help? We need to get this down to 0 suicides a day, period.
Definitely. And I have a PowerPoint, and I'll try with Ben's help to go through it very quickly and take your questions afterwards. I do have to say that the number that you have quoted has, thank God, been lowered a little bit. So we have, according to the latest statistics, it's about 17 veterans a day, so which is still too big of a number. And one of the things that we had learned a few years back is that 11% of those veterans are not receiving care to the VA. So that is why it's so important for the VA to partner up with every local organization, every community partner who's willing to help us in that fight against suicide. We want to make sure that the number continues in that in that kind of way to go down versus going up. So what I want to go through very quickly with you in terms of our program at the VA, or first and foremost, is that we believe very firmly that suicide is preventable. So my goal today will be to just go over the training that we provide to clinical and non-clinical staff, and also to the community. And it's called SAVE. And I'll also speak very quickly about some of the resources that we have. Next slide, please. The next one. We want to talk a little bit about the facts of suicide. Some of the statistics that we have are still very alarming. For instance, the National Public Health suicide that was published by CDC reported that over 45,000 Americans in 2017 died by suicide. We want to speak about those deaths of the veterans more specifically in terms of the statistics that I want to highlight today, because we have, in that statistics, there were about 6,139 veterans over the among the 45,000 that died in 2017. So those comprise, as you can imagine, a gamut of veterans, from younger veterans to older veterans to women veterans, veterans who've been exposed to previous suicide, and veterans mostly who have access to lethal means. So those are the main categories that the statistic reveal. Next slide, please. So in terms of women veterans, you can see that they are between, so we find that 2.2% of the number of veterans who die by suicide, that rate is showing that there is a rate that is higher than among female veterans, which is 2.2%. And also, in terms of older veterans, you can see like the veterans who are 55 and older experience a higher rate of suicide as well. So if you are interested in statistics, I can break them down for you at a later date if you want, or you can just email me and I'm happy to maybe have a time with you so I can go over the statistics a little more in detail. But I want to keep moving because of in the interest of time. Look at the risk and protective factors that are associated with suicide, like prior suicide attempt, mental health issues, substance abuse, access to lethal means, legal financial challenges, relationship problems, unemployment, homelessness, etc. And usually what we do, we want to assess, the risk factors versus the protective factors that veterans have that are keeping them alive. So whenever a veteran presents for an assessment, we will look at some of the things, like protective factors, whether they have access to mental health care, whether they have therapeutic engagement with any provider, whether it's at the VA or in the community. We want to look at the sense, whether they have a sense of connectedness, but also a sense of, hope, spirituality, a sense of purpose in life. We want to assess their physical health, financial status, etc. I'm gonna go to the next slide, please. So the training that we provide, as I alluded to in the beginning, is called SAVE. So SAVE stands for, first of all, the S is recognizing the signs of suicidal thinking. There are many signs that we can just readily assess. Even somebody who's not trained can learn to recognize those signs. So warning signs like hopelessness, like anxiety and agitation, rage and anger, somebody communicating to you that they find that there is no reason to continue living, people who engage in risky activities such as alcohol and drug abuse, people who have who present socially isolated, etc. So if we can move to the next slides. So the next thing that we want to do when we train people to with SAVE, we want to train them to ask the question. about suicidal thinking? Are you thinking about killing yourself? And so to also teach them how to ask the question and ask it in a way that is going to elicit a response from the person that you are talking to. So for instance, if you just meet me and you say to me, are you thinking about killing yourself? I don't have any reason to tell you whether or not I'm thinking that way, right? So we teach people how to ask the question, and we go to V, which is validating the experience. So validating the experience, meaning that you don't have to have a degree in counseling to validate somebody's experience. So you, first of all, be comfortable with the topic, allowing somebody to speak about it, recognizing the signs, recognizing that your opinion at that time really doesn't matter to this person who's talking about suicide. It's very important that you do not pass judgment at that moment, and your role really is to listen and to reassure somebody that there is help. So that is the V and save. And then the E part is about encouraging treatment. So we encourage treatment by being knowledgeable about the treatment that's out there, and we also encourage treatment by making sure that people are that they are able to convey that there is help out there. So that is our SAFE training that, as I said, is available. You can, if you want me to go over that in detail with you, I'm happy to train you as a veteran, and I'm happy to also come to any organization to train. This is usually it takes about 45 minutes for that SAFE training. And we also have it online to PsychArmor. So if you go to the PsychArmor website, you'll be able to train yourself to that modality as well. So these are the strategies that we are doing in our suicide prevention program in Providence throughout all the VAs, really, because suicide prevention is a program that is national and local at the same time. So from the central office and big VA, there is a mandate that every VA will have at least one suicide prevention coordinator whose role is primarily to make sure that there is a program running at the VA in terms of suicide prevention. So one of the things that we are responsible for as suicide prevention coordinators is to make sure that we can just identify the veterans who are at risk for suicide. And once we identify them, we have a method to track those veterans. So for instance, any veteran who is being referred to suicide prevention program, we would have a way to now determine whether this veteran needs to have a high-risk flag on their record. So our high-risk flag for suicide is controlled primarily by the suicide prevention coordinator, because every time we assign a flag, we will have to determine that we need to review the flag with the providers after 90 days of the flag activation. We will look at some of the criteria that need to happen in order for the flag to be removed, so that the veteran has a treatment plan, for instance, that there is a safety plan. So we've developed quite a bit in my 7 years of being in that role. I've seen a lot of instruments that we are using being refined and are being used more widely within the VA, and some of it we're taking into the community too, to see if there is a way to make sure that everybody is doing the same thing in terms of suicide risk assessments, for instance. So we are using the Columbia screening. And once that screening is positive, then we want to have a process where we can do a little more of a warm handoff to somebody who's able to follow up with the veteran. So if a veteran comes to an emergency room and screen positive with the Columbia, then even if a licensed provider had determined that this veteran can go home at that time because they are safe, they're not actively suicidal is the term that we use, then the suicide prevention coordinators can then get on the phone with that veteran to do a safety plan with them. So we have a lot of different things that we doing to enhance the program. Next slide, please. One of the biggest things also that we're doing is lethal means safety education that is encompassing a lot of this education. First of all, we have trainings that are available for lethal means in our training system at the VA, but we also take that training out to the community as well. We also distribute a lot of trigger locks or gun locks to every veteran who asks them for them, or we just put them out for them to take. And anytime there's an event, we try to bring all our suicide prevention swags for veterans to be able to access things that can help them be safe. Like we have prescription medication boxes, and we try to do as much as possible. Of course, a lot of our veterans are not coming to the VA, so we rely on you, who are veterans, also to take the message out to other veterans to tell them that there is help to the VA. So our goals are pretty much to continue to develop the program as much as possible, to improve that to ensure that all veterans are aware and have access to mental health services, whether it's through the VA or if we can connect them to the community, we do that. We want to make sure that we continue to to pinpoint strategies that are helpful, right? So we work with a lot of community stakeholders to improve our suicide prevention efforts. Like, for instance, there's the Governor's Challenge program that's currently in the state, and I'm a member of that group, and we're trying very much to partner up with the community, with all stakeholders, to improve our suicide prevention efforts. And you may be aware that the VA is a leader in suicide prevention efforts, but we certainly feel like we can improve. So we want the feedback from others. We continue to also enhance and increase awareness. We want to make sure that all veterans realize that suicide it's something they can talk about, and that we want to remove the stigma really from mental illness generally, and certainly from suicide. So what is going well that I can attest to right now is that the VA has directed a lot of resources, and it's a tremendous attention in terms of suicide prevention. So that's why we were able to get more staff. After I was doing this by myself for about 5 years, we finally got some more staff. So I'm excited about that. The data continue to be very helpful. Of course, it's not moving as fast as we would like it to move, but it's certainly going in the right direction. Like I stated, it's showing that there is a lower fatality for veterans who are engaged with the VA. So the more we can bring, the more veterans we can bring into the VA, we feel like this is a better chance that we have at actually, come alongside of them and help them in terms of suicidal thinking. We also have a lot of research going on, both within the VA and outside the VA, that are focusing on suicide prevention. So we try to support research as much as possible. We do need to continue to improve awareness. We want to continue to work interdisciplinary. So that's why our newest initiative was that, suicide risk assessment is occurring in every area of the VA, not just mental health. So this is ongoing, and we continue to make sure that we do more of that. Also focusing on lethal means. Right now, there's a lot of that is happening to telehealth, right? So even to during the pandemic, we're trying very hard to make sure that virtually all the care that veterans can receive can happen. All our education is occurring as well. And we do want to make sure also that we continue to distribute materials, the suicide prevention materials, as much as possible. We continue to distribute throughout the pandemic. So in terms of resources, we have the Veterans Crisis Line, which I'm sure most of you are aware of. If you haven't used the Veterans Crisis Line, please do take that number. And this is 24/7, whether you're a veteran or a service member or family member or a friend of a veteran, you can call that number 24/7 and you will have access now to a live person and who can, listen, who can triage, who can determine what needs to happen. And so after the crisis line gets a veteran on the phone or by text or however modality the veteran had communicated with them, they always ask them whether they want to have a follow-up with the VA. And for those who says yes, then I get a consult and I will follow up as well. So so a lot of our days are about, calling veterans back who had contacted the Veterans Crisis Line and communicating with them as to how we can better service them and how we can help them move from point A to point B generally. So very soon they said that number, that 1-800 number is going to be changed to an 811 number. And so when that happens, veterans will be using that number, I would think, a little more. But right now we have quite a volume of veterans and family members using that number. It's about 1 million contacts a year, or if not more, from the last statistics that we have gotten from the VCL. The next resources that is also a national resource is Make the Connection. Make the Connection is an organization that shows a lot of videos about veterans and their telling their own stories. And so in addition to those videos that they have online, and you can go on their website or on YouTube to see those videos, they also can connect you to services, just like our local RI serves, does a fabulous job getting veterans connected to the right person. Make the Connection can do the same thing. So we get a lot of referrals from Make the Connection on a national level. The next resource is coaching into care. So a lot of family members don't know how to speak with their family about, getting that care that they need. And so that organization can teach you how to do that. They can also, try to engage the veteran on their own to see if they can talk to them into getting that service that they need, whether to the VA or to an outside organization. So that's coaching into care. And last but not least is, of course, the suicide prevention coordinators. There are over 400 suicide prevention coordinators throughout the nation. So if you go on that website, you will see, for any location, you will see names and phone numbers and information about the VA that suicide prevention coordinators are connected to. And we are pretty much a liaison, so to speak, for the VA. And we do connect quite a bit with a lot of family members, with private organizations, because people go into that resource locator and then they know the suicide prevention coordinators are there to assist. So I get emails, I get phone calls, and I'm happy to get these contacts, because a lot of times we get to interact with a veteran, interact with a family member, and make a difference. So thank you so much. I try to do this as quickly as possible. Usually it takes me forever, and I'm a little long-winded. So, but if you have any questions, Deb, or the audience, please feel free to ask.
Yes. There was one question, if you could just repeat the website for the training again.
So it is PsychHarmor, and I will, I can drop that in the chat box.
Perfect. That would be even better, because then they can link right to it.
Yeah.
And so I did read some statistics that women veterans are more likely to be successful when they do attempt suicide. So I think what you're doing is so extraordinarily important. And, you know, you'd said that people can reach out at any time. We've also posted in the chat box that the VA crisis line, the 1-800-273-8255, press option 1, 24/7, 365, that can be answered. You know, it brings me joy that the numbers are coming down, but it breaks my heart if there is even one veteran. So Jean, I really appreciate you coming on today and sharing this information. You know, if we can even save one person, I want to save them all, but if we can save one person, everything would be worth it. Everything.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Jean. So my next guest, on a different note, that also offers a profound amount of support for individuals who are caregivers, I'd like to welcome Kathleen Langford. She's the program manager over at the Providence VA's Caregiver Support Program. Welcome, Kathleen.
Well, hello. Good morning. Close to good afternoon. And what a wonderful morning this has been. Happy Women's History Month, and I really enjoyed all of the speakers. So let me just start off. You know, I introduced myself as you did, Kathleen Langford. Been at the VA for 10 years. Started off in the mental health unit, inpatient unit, and then this program was rolling out in 2011 and came on board and began to develop it. So I'll give you a little history of the program, and then we can get down to the current details. So this program rolled out in 2011, and it was, you know, families, you know, were basically talking to their constituents, Congress and such, on the concerns that veterans, young veterans, were returning home with very, very difficult needs, particularly the traumatic brain injury, post-traumatic stress disorder. So young men and women were coming back from deployment and facing challenges at an age where you would not normally see those kind of difficulties. So this caregiver program rolled out to help partners, spouses, family members, parents try to meet the needs of veterans who are returning. Oh, thank you for putting that up. So in 2011, they rolled out this program and they put coordinators in every medical center. I was tapped for the Providence VA, and we were the one and onlys doing these programs and reaching out to veterans and having family members contact us. And it was specific to the post 9/11 veterans. And so that program ran for a number of years, and became identified that there are many caregivers of veterans who take care of keeping their veterans safe at home, and they wanted to start looking at expanding this program to consider caregivers of veterans of other eras. So a big expansion occurred of October 1 of 2020, and the program has grown because of that. We have now, working with me as once the sole coordinator, we now have 4 social workers working in the program, 2 nurses, and we have a program support assistant who tries to triage many, many calls to help us to point the caregivers in the right direction. So I like to speak about the caregiver support program as an umbrella, and under that umbrella, there's 2 specific programs. So the program I'll talk to right now is the program of comprehensive assistance. So that program is currently now still for post 9/11 veterans with caregivers. And also it has been expanded to include veterans who have served up to May 7th, 1975. So you're looking at our World War II veterans, Korean War, Vietnam veterans, and then the post 9/11 group. So if those particular veterans have what we call a caregiver need that would require, if they did not have this caregiver available to them, to keep them safe at home, they would end up, either having to have in-home services come in, or the family would be looking at possibly making a decision for long-term care placement. Maybe having them, need an adult day health program during the week, so the caregiver could, manage to be outside the home. So they're looking at caregiver need that is what they call 6-month continuous need for ADLs. That's the bathing, the supervision, et cetera. And any kind of, grooming, mobility problems, assistance in caregiver need. And again, the focus is to keep these veterans safe in their home. So we might be talking about, someone with cognitive problems, dementia, traumatic brain injury, significant illness. That's a big change since 2011, is that it is not only looking at line of duty injury, it is also looking at illness. There is a required 70% service connection and that period of service that we talked about for an application to be submitted, and they can be done online, and I'll send all of that information in the chat box for everybody. So that said, the application process is a number of different stages to go through. So, we do an intake with a social worker. We're doing everything on video right now. Video Connect, which is a form of telehealth, for the safety during this time of COVID for everyone. So we'll do a telephone intake when we get the application to just make sure you have the right period of service, you have the right service connection, and you have the right caregiver need. It's a clinical program, and there are clinical requirements for it. Once the intake is done, if it looks like the criteria has been met, then you would be assigned a social worker or a coordinator of your application. That social worker would then do an assessment to determine any what we call biopsychosocial needs, gather information on the veteran, the caregiver. And once that is in place, then we would ask a nurse to step in, and that nurse would do the functional assessment of the veteran. And again, right now, we are currently doing face-to-face. All of this is on Video Connect, and we can certainly help with any digital divide that the veteran and caregivers may be experiencing through our telehealth program, because we recognize not everyone is as comfortable as others in using those kind of modalities to be interviewed. All of that's a lot of information. Once we get that that package put together with all of the intakes, assessments, then they go up to a regional office, and the regional office makes the decision on eligibility. So in some cases, obviously veterans are going to be meeting the eligibility requirement. We'll engage the caregiver. That information will be come back to the facility to us. We'll get the caregiver training in place, and then there'll be a home visit to be done. And you'll have a coordinator to help you through all of that process with the application. If the regional office determines that there is caregiver need, however, it doesn't meet the level of the clinical criteria that's currently in place, then we can talk about what we call a general caregiver program. And that's a pretty big program that we have here at the Veteran Center, at the Medical Center. That really kind of is a catch-all for our veterans who don't have the right period of service for this current program, for comprehensive, or don't have the service connection, but still may have some caregiver need. The benefits are different. They're not as enhanced as the comprehensive, but we have a lot of resources, support, education. So we have coordinators for both those programs. The general caregiver program does not require a service connection. Thank you for putting that up. And as you can see, we have workshops. We can direct you to a Building Better Care program, which is online. We have videos to help with dementia. We will run some support groups. We have lots of educational information on tips and tools on how to be a caregiver. Where you can get the support that you need, how to work with the veterans treatment team. And then also self-care, like how do you take care of yourself when you're in this role? So the program is growing by leaps and bounds. Since 10/1/2020, we nationally have received over 66,000 applications as it opened up to the Korean, World War II, and Vietnam veterans. And that's really been an application surge that was not anticipated. The goal is to turn these applications around and give people timely decisions, within 90 days. We both at the medical center and nationally are running behind on all of that. But we are certainly, moving through the process. And once you have a coordinator assigned to you, you have someone to keep in touch with to see how the application process is going. There was a change in focus, as I said, with this change in regulations that now takes a look at both line of duty injury and illness, so that there can be a variety of different service connections that combine to 70%. And that change also, again, like I said, looks at trying to keep a veteran safe in his or her home. So the question would be to ask, if I needed to leave the home, would this veteran be safe? Do I need someone to come in and stay with this veteran if I'm not here? Those are the kind of criteria that we're looking at. But people should always give us a call. Don't screen yourself out. Let us go over all of that information with you to make sure that you're getting the right, correct information. We also this year will be holding a summit at the medical center, perhaps, again, virtual because of the nature of the time we find ourselves in. We'll be doing a resource fair. And again, November is always Caregiver Month, and we do a lot of work with that. And I'll certainly work with Deb to get this information out, to everyone when we are having these events and activities. Did want to just go over a little bit of the benefit program. So for those of caregivers of veterans who don't meet the comprehensive program, the application process, we do connect you with our geriatric extended care program. That could be anything from getting a home health aide into the home, maybe some respite care for the caregiver. We have a home-based primary care program. The primary care doc here might consider a number of different things that, connecting you with your the social worker in the primary care. So basically helping that caregiver navigate the VA. The VA itself is a very large organization. The medical center has many, many programs. So we're happy to help families and caregivers, direct them to the programs that their loved one may be eligible for. I would like to drop in the chat box, I would like to drop the specific website. I did put the website out there for the national website, which I think is really beautifully done and has a lot of information. But we also have one at the, that's not the one I want. We also have one at the, excuse me just for 1 minute to refresh this. Well, I'll get that to Deb after. We also have one at the Providence VA. So if you go onto the Providence VA website, there's a caregiver link, and that will give you a lot of specifics on how to get in touch with us personally at the medical center, or to just go on the national website and negotiate that. And lots of valuable information for caregivers, of whether you're a caregiver of a veteran or just a caregiver in general. A lot of tools, a lot of information, and you can track down who you need to speak to through that website too. If you needed someone in Connecticut, you needed someone, in Massachusetts, all that information is available at that website. I think that's a lot of information in a short amount of time. Do you have any questions you want to ask Deb to help facilitate any more calls or questions?
So somebody had posted a question in the chat box. Does the caregiver support program help with covering the cost for home modifications, such as grab bars in the bathroom, ramps, that kind of thing? Do you help with that?
So there are a couple of grants, for HISA grants, and which would help with kind of accommodations in the home. That all goes through a committee, and occupational therapy has to be involved with that. That's what they call a major medical committee. And they do an assessment of the caregiver's needs for anything structurally in the home. We certainly can help facilitate that in the caregiver program. They can speak, to the social worker in the primary care. mention it to the doc. Basically, a consult would go over to the occupational therapist, and the HISA grant actually requires an application. But we could help people. Again, that's one of the things we do is we help people navigate that. For durable medical equipment, that goes through OT, the primary care doctor, the RN. We can get a call ourselves, grab bars, any kind of safety measures at home that's considered durable medical equipment, and the veterans are eligible for that. So, you can start off with your primary care doc or the nurse that's assigned to him or her, or you can give us a call and we can help negotiate that. But that's something that occupational therapy does an assessment to determine, and then we'll do all that ordering and get all that equipment shipped to the home. Sometimes in the past, sometimes people would come pick that up, but given the circumstances, a lot of things are being shipped to the home right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you said you do offer virtual support groups for folks.
Yes, we do. And that's one of the areas, one of the goals in this year, fiscal year 21, is to promote a number of different types of support group options. We're looking to work with our partner with our Boston coordinators and our Boston group. Again, people are really enjoying this virtual opportunity, obviously if they have the technology, because it provides them with the ability to connect with other people but still feel safe. We have in the past used the VetCenters for face-to-face support groups. The VetCenter in Warwick, which has always been so supportive to us in our program and really does have a wonderful home-like environment to feel to it. It doesn't really have that kind of medical feel of the medical center. And we look forward to being able to partner with them and, their sisters over in New Bedford and down in Hyannis. Again, looking at opportunities to build support groups. We do have one that's occurring right now. And, obviously some can be open, we've done workshops in the past where they're one day, we provide self-care opportunities. It's again a big important piece. I talked a lot about applications and resources, but at the end of the day, we're caregiver support and we're looking for caregivers to find ways to care for themselves while they're trying to care for their loved one.
And I think maybe the most important thing is for folks to know that they can reach out to you at the VA at the 273-7100 extension 13281, and then you can help people get connected.
Yes. So we have, like I said, we have a program support assistant, Krista. She's lovely. She does some triaging of calls to us. So she can either tap one of the coordinators if it's something specific, or she can tap me. We also do encourage people to look at the website to get some additional information, or they can, you can email me. We've done a lot of work in the community in the past in regards to doing outreach. And again, we've all had to reinvent that. But it's thank you for this opportunity to get this information out. I know that you are you promote a lot of the Rhode Island elders work, and that's probably the last piece I'd want to fall back on is the VA does a lot in meeting the needs of the veterans and the families, but we can't meet every need at every time. So it's really important to be able to connect with our stakeholders of the community, like yourself and the elder services, to make sure that if we can't do something for that veteran or caregiver, that we've exhausted other means in the community. So we look to complement and supplement services, both federally, state, and local community, and try to do the best we can for the veterans and the caregivers.
That's it. We are all in this together. And Stephanie Culhane had a quick question. Does the caregiver support program, does that exist in other states as well?
It's a national program. Every VA medical center has a caregiver support program. And because of as I said, in 2011, we were the sole person, the sole coordinator in each medical center. And now the program has expanded so greatly that you have program managers, coordinators, RNs, social workers, and there's a caregiver program in each and every VA medical center. And again, awesome. if you go on the national VA website, you just need to put in the zip code and you'll find out who your coordinator or your program manager is.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us today, Kathleen.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to share information, and I really enjoyed the program this morning. You had a lot of wonderful, wonderful speakers and really great resources.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Isn't that lovely?
Yeah, lots of comments coming in. This is awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say thank you to all of my speakers today, from Mrs. Vary to Representative Vella-Wilkinson to Jennifer Marquis Caruso over the Providence VA. I'm sorry, made a mistake. Over at the Rhode Island State Office of Veterans Services, Tonya at the Providence VA, Heather at the VetCenter, Rachael with all the VSOs and URI, Karen Dalton, Dare to Dream, Lindsey over at Operations Stand Down, Jean from the Providence VA, Kathleen from the Providence VA. Of course, what we're doing would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. So huge shout out and thank you to Raytheon, to Cross Country Mortgage, to England Studio, D&B Media, Oak Street Health, Tamarisk Assisted Living, Loisel Insurance. I want to let you know that we have had this video shared out over 100 times. And the reality is there are a lot of women veterans and it could be shared out 100 more times. So thank you all for joining us. I would like to invite my last guest up, Chief Chaplain Rotunda East, for our closing prayer and moment of silence for those who didn't come home. Welcome, Chaplain East.
So much for being here. This was a wonderful, wonderful morning. I couldn't have spent a better morning than with some of these powerful women and their dedication to the women warriors. Thank you so much. As we close this occasion, let us do so with thanksgiving in our hearts and clarity of mind and peace to our soul. Let us have a moment of silence for our women veterans, and join me in prayer for them. Divine Creator, Giver of peace, we pause to acknowledge and pray for the strength of our nation and the contributions and significance that women veterans have given in the defense and protection of freedoms that are enjoyed by many. Thank you for their perseverance, their tenacity, and their courage during peacetime and war, at home and abroad. For we know their sacrifices were great. May their spirit and their bodies that have been scarred by the service be renewed and made whole. May their nights haunted by memories too painful for the light of day. May they be replaced with a renewed sense of peace and security. Hear our prayer that women veterans everywhere be placed in position to find sources of consolation to facilitate their healing of both visible and invisible wounds. We pray continuous protection and spiritual strength to those who have served and to those who are currently serving. As we close this celebration, may our sacrifices be a beacon of change for all women veterans, now and in generations to come. May we begin to remember to seek and find beauty in the midst of all things, the beauty that is before us, the beauty that is behind us, the beauty above us, and the beauty all around us. May it be ever so present in our lives. May we find hope and comfort, henceforth now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Deb.
And I thank everyone who has joined us today. This has been a very powerful thing for me. I hope those who have watched feel the same.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I wish you all well, and please hit the like button and share this information out, because there are many women out there who need the information that was shared today. Peace.